Listen to me carefully. What if I told you that the pain you're feeling right now is not the end, but the beginning? That the breaking you're experiencing is not about loss, but about discovery. What if I told you that the tears, the betrayal, the silence, the loneliness are all ingredients in God's master plan to reveal the strongest version of you? Woman, you are not being punished. You are being prepared. God never rebuilds on a faulty foundation. So before he establishes you, he must strip away what was never meant to sustain you. He is not trying to destroy you. He is uncovering you. You see, the breaking is the revealing. He breaks the mask. He breaks the false image. He breaks the dependency. He breaks the illusion of strength so that he can introduce you to the reality of it. The woman you thought you were is not the woman he designed. So he breaks you to rebuild you according to his original intent. When God breaks a woman, he is not breaking her to pieces. He is breaking her into purpose. And this process demands detachment. You must be willing to emotionally disconnect from the things and people that once defined your identity. Emotional and spiritual detachment is not weakness. It is the evidence of inner wholeness. You no longer find your value in who stays or who leaves. You find it in who called you. Your confidence no longer rises and falls with the opinions of man. It is anchored in the revelation of your purpose. When you begin to detach, you discover a quiet strength. You begin to say no without guilt. You start choosing peace over performance. You stop chasing validation and start walking in vision. The stronger woman does not beg to be loved. She stands in love. She does not cling to the familiar. She obeys the voice of destiny. You were never meant to live attached to what God only meant as a season. But because we fall in love with comfort, he must break us out of our cages. Some of you are crying over what God has already exited. And yet you're still standing at the door weeping over Egypt when God has already parted the Red Sea. He's breaking you, not because he hates you, but because he sees something in you that you've forgotten. The potential to birth nations, the wisdom to lead in silence, the endurance to walk alone, the clarity to choose purpose over popularity. But all of this begins at the place of breaking. The cocoon must tear before the butterfly flies. The seed must crack before the tree grows. The alabaster box must shatter before the oil flows. And the woman must be broken so that the queen within her can rise. The breaking is a transition, not a tomb. You're not dying. You're emerging. You're shedding what no longer fits. God is disconnecting you so that he can distinguish you. He is separating you not to isolate you. Brokenness is not punishment. It is divine preparation for purpose. When God allows your life to break, it is not because he is angry with you. It is not a sign of rejection. It is not abandonment. It is alignment. He is aligning you with the very essence of who he created you to be. Many women confuse divine breaking with failure. But heaven does not see as man sees. In the eyes of God, your breaking is sacred. It is the moment when the shell that held you back is finally cracked open, allowing your real identity to emerge. You see, God cannot use what is still full of self. He cannot pour destiny into a vessel already filled with fear, insecurity, and emotional dependencies. So he breaks you not to reduce you, but to empty you. He allows disappointment, betrayal, and isolation not to harm you, but to expose the areas that must be healed and transformed. That relationship that fell apart, that opportunity that vanished, that rejection that stung, all of it was God's way of saying, I have something greater, but I must prepare you for it. He is not interested in patching up the old version of you. He's committed to birthing a new one. The breaking causes you to finally confront the illusions you've lived behind. It pulls you away from people who distracted you from your assignment. It silences the noise of the crowd so you can hear the whisper of purpose. This process may feel painful, but it is purposeful. Just as a surgeon must make an incision to remove what's infected, God must allow your comfort zone to be cut so that healing and growth can begin. Your brokenness is the doorway to your becoming. It's the divine reset that clears the path for your next dimension. God often breaks what he plans to multiply. This is a divine principle repeated throughout Scripture and creation. When God places greatness inside of you, he doesn't rush you to the platform. He brings you to the threshing floor. Because anything God plans to increase, he first reduces to its purest form. You cannot carry multiplied purpose in an unrefined vessel. Before he can trust you with more, he must break what is superficial, circumstantial, and self-centered. Think of the 5 loaves and 2 fish. They were not multiplied in their whole state. Jesus lifted them up, gave thanks, and then broke them. It was in the breaking that the multiplication began. What looked like lack in the hands of men became abundance in the hands of God, but not before it was broken. The same is true for your life. Before the increase comes, the incision happens. God must break your dependency on people. He must break your addiction to applause. He must break your reliance on predictable outcomes. Only then can he pour through you without limits. Breaking precedes blessing. It is the passage to promotion. But most women resist the breaking because it feels like loss. Yet heaven sees it as seed. The seed must be buried. It must die in the dark. It must be hidden. But when the shell of that seed breaks, life begins. You are not being buried to be forgotten. You are being planted to be multiplied. The tears you cry in your broken season are watering your future. Every moment of silence, isolation, or pain is a part of God's multiplication plan. What feels like subtraction is actually sacred addition in disguise. He is stretching your capacity by first reducing you to what matters most, his purpose in you. Emotional detachment is not coldness, it's clarity, a revelation of your identity apart from people. Many women have been conditioned to believe that their worth is tied to how much they give, how much they please, how much they are needed. So when God begins the process of detachment, it can feel like rejection. But in truth, it is revelation. He is revealing to you that your identity was never meant to be anchored in people, approval, or proximity. It was always meant to be rooted in him. Emotional detachment is not shutting down, it is waking up. It is the awakening of your soul to the realization that peace does not come from others. It comes from alignment with purpose. When you detach emotionally from what God never intended you to carry, you begin to see clearly. You see who was using you. You see who was draining your strength. You see how much of your life was shaped by the fear of being alone. And suddenly you begin to breathe differently. You begin to choose differently. You start setting boundaries, not because you're bitter, but because you're better. This is what divine clarity does. It shows you who you are without the noise of affirmation and the illusion of connection. God never asked you to be a slave to emotions. He created you to be led by vision, not validation. Emotional detachment is not a wall, it is a filter. It filters what no longer serves your purpose. It teaches you how to love without losing yourself, how to care without carrying weight that isn't yours, how to walk away without guilt when peace is absent. The clearer you become, the less you tolerate what breaks your spirit. And this is not hardness, it's holiness. It's your spirit returning to the throne room where your identity was written before you were ever wounded. Spiritual strength comes when your dependency shifts from man to the manufacturer. As long as your sense of security is rooted in people, you will always live in cycles of disappointment. Humans are limited. They fail, they change, they leave. But the one who created you, the manufacturer of your soul, is unchanging, all-knowing, and eternally stable. When you shift your dependency to him, you begin to walk in a strength that is not shaken by circumstance, not broken by betrayal, and not controlled by opinion. This shift is not emotional, it is spiritual. It is the quiet transfer of trust from the creation to the creator. You stop expecting others to validate what only God can confirm. You stop waiting for someone to rescue you when heaven has already equipped you. You begin to see every closed door, every abandonment, every heartbreak, not as devastation, but as divine redirection. God is weaning you off of human reliance because he wants to introduce you to divine resilience. You are not designed to function on the approval of man. That's why your soul feels restless when you seek it. The manufacturer holds the blueprint of your life, and only he can supply what you need to fulfill your assignment. When you lean on him, you access a strength that is not taught, it is imparted. You carry a confidence that does not come from your surroundings, but from your source. You rise from places others would have drowned in because your strength is not external, it is eternal. True spiritual strength is quiet, consistent, and unwavering. It allows you to endure storms without panic. It helps you make decisions without fear. It anchors you in seasons of silence. When your dependency shifts to the manufacturer, you don't just survive, you walk in dominion. You cannot carry divine purpose while still attached to what God has rejected. Purpose is holy, and it cannot coexist with anything that contaminates your destiny. When God marks you for a divine assignment, he begins a separation process. He starts pulling you away from people, places, habits, and mindsets that no longer align with where he's taking you. But if your soul remains tied to what he has already walked away from, you will find yourself stuck between two seasons, grieving the past while forfeiting the future. Divine rejection is not cruelty, it is clarity. God rejects what does not reflect his design for your life. That relationship that felt good but pulled you away from your convictions, that opportunity that looked perfect but stripped your peace, God rejected it because it could not hold the weight of your calling. And if you insist on holding on to what he's already released you from, you will delay your development. You cannot carry oil and cling to what leaks it. You cannot be entrusted with influence while staying entangled with environments that compromise your integrity. God does not share his glory with anything or anyone. So when he starts removing certain attachments, don't resist it. Recognize it. He is sanctifying you. He is making room for what's coming. He is protecting the purity of your assignment. When you finally release what he has rejected, something supernatural happens. Your discernment sharpens, your vision clears, your steps become ordered. You stop trying to resuscitate what God has buried. You stop rehearsing old conversations and start preparing for new elevations. Carrying divine purpose demands a clean heart, free hands, and detached emotions. You must walk away from what God has ended in order to step into what he has ordained. Anything less will drain your strength and delay your impact. Detachment is not abandonment, it's elevation. When God begins to elevate you, he first creates distance, not because he wants you to feel lonely, but because he wants you to see clearly. There are certain perspectives you can only gain when you rise above the noise, the drama, and the distractions. Many people confuse detachment with isolation, but they are not the same. Isolation is what the enemy uses to trap you. Detachment is what God uses to transform you. It's a divine repositioning, a pulling away so he can pour into you. There are seasons where God separates you from the crowd, not to punish you, but to promote you. Elevation requires silence. It requires solitude. It requires space. When a rocket prepares for launch, it sheds the weight of what cannot fly. In the same way, God will allow certain people, patterns, and emotional dependencies to fall away, not because you're being abandoned, but because you're going higher. And not everyone can go with you. Abandonment is when man walks away from you. Elevation is when God walks with you while pulling you from the attachments that hinder growth. You're not losing relationships, you're gaining revelation. You're not being forgotten, you're being focused. God detaches you from what was so you can embrace what is next. This is the cost of maturity. This is the price of clarity. Elevation doesn't happen in crowded spaces. It happens in consecrated places. It's in those quiet, detached seasons that your ears become tuned to heaven. Your heart becomes soft to divine instruction. You stop reacting and start discerning. You stop clinging and start releasing. Detachment is the pathway to spiritual flight. It is not a sign that you've been forsaken. It's a sign that you've been chosen to rise above what used to hold you down. Every true rebuilding begins with a divine demolition of false identity. God cannot build upon what is not real. He cannot bless a version of you that was shaped by trauma, culture, or the expectations of others. So before he begins to reconstruct you into the woman he designed, he must first tear down every identity that was never authored by him. This is why some seasons feel like loss, like confusion, like you're being stripped of everything you thought made you, you. It's not destruction, it's divine reconstruction. False identity is subtle. It can be built on titles, roles, relationships, appearance, or even pain. You may have learned to survive by pretending, by adjusting, by performing. You became who they wanted, who they needed, who they celebrated, but not who you were created to be. And when God steps in, he doesn't negotiate with those layers. He removes them. He demolishes the mask to reveal the masterpiece beneath. The process feels painful, even disorienting, because the image you held so tightly begins to crumble. But it must. Because God refuses to let you live your life as a copy when he created you to be an original. The demolition is mercy in disguise. He tears down so he can build up correctly, truthfully, authentically. He is not interested in your performance. He desires your transformation. So when the applause fades, the platform disappears, the relationships shift, and the titles no longer define you, that is where true identity begins to rise. In the rubble of what was false, purpose is born. When you no longer cling to who you thought you were, you make room for who God knows you are. The breaking down of false identity is the clearing of ground for your divine destiny to rise with unshakable foundations. A stronger woman is not a louder woman. She is a woman anchored in silence and confidence. Strength is often misunderstood. Culture teaches that strength is in volume, in dominance, in outward displays of control. But divine strength is rooted in stillness. It's the ability to remain calm when chaos surrounds you, to remain grounded when storms arise, to respond with wisdom instead of reacting from emotion. The woman God is shaping doesn't need to prove her worth through noise. Her presence speaks even when her mouth is closed. True strength is internal. It is the quiet assurance that you know who you are, whose you are, and why you are here. It is the kind of strength that comes from deep roots, roots that are nourished in prayer, in solitude, in the presence of God. This strength doesn't need to argue, defend, or convince. It simply walks in authority. It doesn't shout, it stands. It doesn't chase, it attracts. It doesn't compete, it completes the assignment. When a woman is anchored in God, her confidence does not waver with external conditions. She is not thrown off course by rejection, delay, or misunderstanding. She has built her life on a foundation that cannot be moved. This is the strength that confuses the enemy, because he expects breakdown but finds endurance. He expects fear but finds faith. He expects insecurity but finds identity. This woman may be quiet, but she is not weak. She carries peace like a weapon. She walks in rooms with discernment. She speaks with grace and precision. Her silence is not emptiness, it's power under control. The louder world becomes, the more she leans into the stillness of God, and from that stillness she draws the kind of strength that no platform can give and no storm can take away. When God breaks you, he's not destroying you. He's releasing the true you hidden under layers of people-pleasing fear and pain. There is a version of you that heaven knows, a version that is bold, wise, purposeful, and whole. But over time, life teaches you to wear masks. You adapt to survive. You shrink to be accepted. You say yes when your spirit is screaming no. You become a reflection of others' needs, not the revelation of God's design. And so in his love, God begins to break you, not to hurt you, but to free you from everything you were never meant to carry. He breaks the shell of pretense. He cracks open the walls of defense. He allows certain relationships to fall away, certain comforts to dissolve, because they have covered the real you for too long. The breaking feels painful, even terrifying, because you are being separated from identities that once protected you. But they were never meant to define you. God is after the original version, the one he spoke into existence before the opinions, the trauma, the performance. This breaking is surgical. It is intentional. He is peeling off every false layer, not out of cruelty, but out of covenant. Because what he placed in you cannot flourish under fear. What he called you to do cannot be fulfilled through approval addiction. What he designed you to carry cannot coexist with emotional bondage. So he breaks you open so that purpose can pour out. You begin to recognize your voice again. You start walking in rooms without needing permission. You stop apologizing for your presence. The real you begins to rise from the ashes of who you thought you had to be. The breaking becomes a birthing. And from that place of divine release, you become unstoppable. You must let go of what was to become what is destined to be. Holding on to the past is one of the greatest hindrances to divine transformation. God cannot fill hands that are already full. He cannot anoint what you refuse to release. There comes a point in every woman's journey where God says, that season is over. That identity has expired. That relationship has served its purpose. And yet the soul often clings, not because it loves what was, but because it fears what is unknown. But destiny demands surrender. The woman God is calling you to become cannot rise while you're still mourning what he has removed. Letting go is not weakness, it's worship. It's saying, God, I trust your plan more than I trust my comfort. What you let go of may have been good for where you were, but it cannot go with you to where you're headed. Some friendships were meant for the wilderness, but not the promised land. Some habits helped you survive, but now they keep you small. Some mindsets protected your brokenness, but will sabotage your healing. There is a divine shedding that must take place before elevation. The butterfly cannot fly unless the caterpillar dies. You must allow the former things to pass away. You must grieve, yes, but do not pitch your tent in yesterday. Let it go. Release the need for closure, the craving for validation, the longing for what once was. What is ahead of you is greater than what is behind you, but only if you're willing to move forward. God is not trying to take from you. He's trying to make room for something higher, pure, and lasting. The letting go is not loss, it is transition. It is the sacred crossing from survival into significance. Hear me today. What feels like breaking is not the end of your story. It is the unveiling of your assignment. You are not being reduced. You are being refined. You are not being forsaken. You are being formed. The pain is not pointless. It is prophetic. It is pointing you to the woman you were always meant to be. So stop mourning the pieces that fell. They did not break you. They revealed you. There is a stronger woman inside of you, one who no longer fears detachment because she understands that divine separation is a setup for supernatural elevation. Let the breaking do its work. Let God strip what he did not plant. Let him shake what is not rooted in him. Because when the dust settles, what will remain is unshakable, unmovable, and unstoppable. God is not building a woman who survives. He is building a woman who reigns, one who walks in wisdom, one who discerns in silence, one who stands in storms, one who knows her identity not by who accepts her, but by who assigned her. You are that woman. But first, you must surrender to the breaking. Because only what is surrendered can be transformed, and only what is transformed can truly carry the weight of purpose. So rise from the ashes, not as who you were, but as who you were always destined to become. Broken, yes, but rebuilt by the hand of God himself.